Welcome back. Today we are making some deliciously fluffy Swiss meringue buttercream frosting. To make it, I'm taking 7 fresh egg whites that I'm pouring into the bowl of my stand mixer. I like to use my stand mixer to make this, but you can also make it by hand with a hand mixer. Be sure your mixing bowl is super clean before doing this, because if there's any traces of grease, it can cause your meringue not to whip up properly. In addition to our egg whites, we are adding in 2 cups of granulated sugar. Before heating up this mixture, I'm whisking together the sugar and the egg whites just to get it fully incorporated, and then it's time to heat things up. I have about 1 inch of water in a pot here that I have brought to a simmer, and I'm placing my mixing bowl directly on top of that. So you can see the mixture is still pretty thick, but it will get thinner as the mixture heats up. So throughout this process, I'm using my digital thermometer to check the temperature, and you know that the mixture is ready once it reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit. This usually takes about 3 minutes. So once it gets to this point, it's quite a bit thinner, and you can actually test it by rubbing a little bit of the mixture between your fingers, and there shouldn't be any sugar granules remaining. So you should be able to rub your fingers back and forth, and it should feel nice and smooth. At this point, you want to immediately remove your bowl from the heat so that you don't overcook your egg whites, and then it's time to whip up this mixture. So you dry off the bottom of your bowl, place it back onto your stand mixer, and whisk on high with a whisk attachment for about 10 minutes until you have a meringue with stiff, glossy peaks. If you're not sure what that looks like, here's a picture of my whisk after making it. So it should be able to support its own weight and stand pretty much straight up. Next, we are adding in our butter. So we have 2 cups of unsalted butter here that we're mixing in 1 tablespoon at a time. Now, if the bottom of your bowl still feels warm to the touch, wait a minute before you add your butter in. A lot of times that's the reason why your buttercream will curdle, is because your mixture or your bowl is just still too warm and it doesn't allow the ingredients to incorporate properly. If your buttercream does curdle, don't worry, just keep mixing your frosting for an additional 5 to 10 minutes and the consistency should come together in the end. So my frosting looked great. I'm very happy to say it did not curdle, but at this point in time I like to scrape around the sides of the bowl with a rubber spatula and make sure I get all the frosting out of my whisk attachment, and I give it one more quick mix just to make sure that all that butter is really incorporated properly into our meringue. Then it's time to add our last 2 ingredients. This includes 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just a tiny bit, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We give this a quick mix, and then once those are incorporated, it's time to actually swap out our whisk attachment for our paddle attachment. So once I'm done making my frosting and the consistency looks great, I love to mix my frosting with my paddle attachment on a low speed for an additional few minutes just to make sure that it's really silky smooth. So this is the consistency that you're after once you've finished mixing it. I did add a little bit of gel food coloring to this, so it's a slightly different color. It's kind of a pinkish purple. But I want to show you what it looks like being added to a cake just so you can get an idea of what the texture and the consistency should be like. So you can see it's incredibly fluffy, it's really easy to spread, and it's really light. So this has a much different feel to work with than American buttercream, which is quite a bit heavier and denser. It's nice though because it really is easy to spread across the cake. There's not much resistance because it's so fluffy. So it really is easy to add a crumb coat onto a cake and to smooth out. Swiss meringue frosting uses a lot less sugar than American buttercream, so if you don't like your frosting too sweet, this is a great recipe to use. It works great for cakes and frosting on cupcakes, and it's also really easy to pipe with. I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. If you have any other questions that I didn't answer, please ask them in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you guys again soon.